Hello, and welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. My name is Cris, and this finale was almost as explosive as Carol's atom bomb.
That's good. That's really good. Keep going.
Hello, and welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. My name is Cris, and this finale was almost as explosive as Carol's atom bomb. This week, we got our long-awaited meeting with Manousos and Carol, and it went exactly how you'd expect from two stubborn loners who've been isolated from humanity for 30-something days. While Manousos earns the title of worst house guest ever, we learned that despite their similarities, they have some fundamental differences in their views of the hive and how far they're willing to go. And Carol and Zosha's relationship starts to turn as chilly as Carol's frozen eggs, as Carol struggles to accept their love might not be as special as she wants to believe. Will she choose the girl or the world? Let's dive in, but I won't do it alone. I have Ebube with me to break it all down.
I don't know whether to clap for the episode or clap for you, or
Okay.
my applause needs to go somewhere because that was pretty amazing. Nobody else ever agrees to do that. That was absolutely fun. And you should do it from now on, like literally forever. I'm going to go on vacation. This is fantastic.
Thank
but yeah,
you. I had a fun time coming up with some puns.
I suppose I am happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Lovely to have you.
This was one heck of an episode, huh? Like, wow.
Yeah, this was pretty jam-packed. I was happy to have the hour, right? Instead of the 45 minutes we've had for most of the season.
Yeah, I think only the first two episodes were an hour other than this one. And you could kind of tell from that runtime that they had a lot they wanted to show us. Starting off with Kusimayu finally joining was very interesting. I feel like there's just a lot of slow burn payoffs that we were getting in this episode. You know, things that were planted before. And it's nice to see all those things come to fruition because you wonder, okay, what would it be like to join now? Like, how are people going to get that? Like, it's not like we have mice that are just going to be biting people anymore. And it's not like it's necessarily in people's drinks. Like, we had a question, right? Is this going to be airborne? Like, what's the situation here? So I think it's interesting to see the process of that coming. And of course, this is a Vince Gilligan show. They're going to show us the process, and it's always going to be intriguing because once you realize what's happening, it's always that much more rewarding, right? So I think having that plane come in and then the guy's there to pick up the container and then he brings it to the village and then it was fun, right? Because she was saying goodbye to everything that she loves. And including that goat, of course.
Yes, her little goat.
Yeah, I know. Like the goat following her was definitely a nice touch because obviously they don't really do animals. They kind of just let them roam free. And, you know, it's cool that that detail lives on in this because obviously they have to kind of be consistent with that. And I think that that makes a lot of sense. Of course, this is happening 11 days after Manousos and Carol first meet. So that gives us a bit of a sense of time of how things are going. But the fact that she said from the beginning that she wanted to join her family and now she actually has that chance tells you that these people have come really far. Like this is under 3 months since the incident, you know, and they've and then the first person who wanted to join now has that chance. And it's like, okay, what's next, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the scene sort of tells us two main things, which is one, that they have in fact figured this out. If they get your stem cells, they can do this, they can bring you in, and that's confirmation that time is ticking. There's not a lot of time left for Carol. And another thing I thought was interesting was that I think you can see how the hive sort of leads to the dissolution of culture because my impression of the ending of that scene was the minute they bring her in, they all start to clean up and clear out of the village.
Because now everything is theater, like with Diabate. Because it feels so eerie because she starts to convulse. Then she joins, she has this smile on her face, and props to her for the performance because my God, like I actually felt that. Like all communication ceased because it's no longer needed. They all have the same mind now, including her. She just sets her animals free and she moves on. And, you know, I remember watching that and thinking, okay, since this is happening 11 days from now, clearly the world has not been saved yet, right? So they made it feel for her as close to tradition as possible. They were singing that song. You know, there was a real sense of togetherness, and she just goes and she breathes in some vapor, and you know, she doesn't even flinch in a sense. She just joins and everything continues. And I remember, like, at the end of the episode when Zosha is telling Carol, remember the Peruvian girl, Kusimayu, she just joined us. She's happier than ever. And I immediately thought, but is she? Because she's not her anymore.
Yeah. I love how you said that too, that they had so much community before and they were probably together more than after she joins. After she joins, they kind of all go their separate ways. Yeah, and everything's about utility, right? They are not helpful in this little isolated village. So it seems like they're immediately going to clear out and join them in other places where they can be more efficient, right? They need to go sleep in the stadiums with everyone else. And I think that's sad, right? That's sad that you're kind of losing you know, a culture like this. Like, that's no longer needed in a world that's all about efficiency.
And they would tell you that the culture is still there, that it's just, you know, part of the hive. But we've established actually that that's probably not even a good thing, because if it's in there, that means it's now also in danger of dying of starvation within 10 years. Like, Kusumayu is a very young woman. She probably had like at least 60 or 70 years ahead. And now it's like she has 10. So that's just a little wild. And of course, it is worth noting that we were right about the stem cells, like way, way, way right. Like, how do you feel to be the world's best theorist?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we got that, and I like how the show goes. Again, even if you expected it, it's like, yes, I got it. The clues were there, and I picked up on it. And I like the way that it comes back, and you can see it in the episode that they replant the idea of the eggs in your head in case you were a person that maybe didn't have that in your head from episode 3, which, sorry, I don't want to skip around too much, but, you know, we find out that, you know, Helen was keeping tabs on Carol's drinking around the time that she froze her eggs. So clearly she had this idea of, we might be parents. Is Carol actually ready for that? And she puts a sensor in the liquor cabinet to see how many times she's going in, which I think for Carol is tough to swallow, that she really didn't trust her. And, you know, maybe this sense of guilt that she didn't live up to being the partner that she wanted to be, because clearly her drinking was still sort of an issue, as we see in the first episode, right? She's at the bar like, hey, you need a drink. I know you want one, has the breathalyzer in her car. And we don't know the sequence of events necessarily, but they did say they were freezing the eggs back in 2011, and I assume we're in the same time period as we are right now. So it's like 2024, 2025, whatever it is.
It's wild to me because, you know, Helen put that sensor there, and I wonder if Carol cared much really about how Helen felt about her drinking. It makes you want to ask that question. It's like, okay, what was this relationship really like? When they argued, what was that like? When they weren't in sync, what caused it? And I think the show has given us a glimpse into that, because it probably would have had a lot to do with this alcohol problem. And maybe Carol did not see it as a problem. She probably just thought she was having it under control. But I suppose anyone in her position who doesn't quite have it under control would think exactly that. So we're in a bit of a crossroads here. And it seems like Helen saw herself as Carol's manager in more than just her career. I think Carol is feeling a little bit managed here. She's feeling like, oh, you were, you know, kind of looking down on me in a way, like you didn't believe in me. And, you know, that's definitely a tough pill to swallow, especially in a call where she's talking to Zosha, who is like her new love. And she's even saying stuff like, I'll call you later. You know, she's literally starting to sound like Diabate. because that's how he talks to them on the phone, and he's like he's just always enthusiastic. And I feel like the Hive is always putting on a show for these people because they love everyone and they want to interact with everyone that they love. But with each other, they don't interact because they are all one. And it's like, why do they see that as complete bliss? It's like I was saying when we were on Pete Pepper's live stream for episode 8, which everyone should check out. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, by the way. I was saying that, this happiness is not really happiness because there's no other alternative in a way. It's like, are they happy or are they just completely free of conflict because there's no one else? Like when you're alone in your house, you're not fighting with anyone. So yeah, like, yes, you're happy, but what else are you going to be? Other than maybe a little bit lonely.
It's interesting too that both pieces of information that have made Carol maybe feel a little insecure about her relationship with Helen were sort of precipitated by her, back in episode 4, was it? Is when she asks the Jeff Hiller hive mind character if Helen liked her books. And that was a little disappointing to her, even though she knew the answer probably. And in this case, it's also, of course, Manousos found the censor, but it was still precipitated by Carol to ask about it. And even later in the episode, when she's talking with Zosha in the ski lodge, she's the one who asks, did real Zosha have a partner? And she says,
why do you think she asked that?
I think it's her pattern, right? Because she even says
self-sabotage, or do you think it's just guilt?
I think it's almost like she wants to feel guilt or jealousy. Like she said, she's like,
she's trying to be punished.
She doesn't understand. She's like, sorry, I don't think I'm good at just feeling good. I think she just has this pattern, and I think those patterns are very hard to break. I mean, people go to years of therapy to break those patterns that you can't get out of.
She's trying to enroll in Happiness 101.
Yeah, and it's so interesting in that scene too, because right after she does that, she does say she's the happiest she's ever been. So even Carol at peak happiness still has a little bit of that self-sabotaging nature coming through.
But that's because she's human, and she still has her. She still has her personality. She still has everything that makes her her, right? And Zosha is basically saying, I suppose, rightly or honestly so, based on this perspective that we have, that she would be a lot happier if she joined. Like she'd be even happier, and I think that's because this trepidation or guilt or whatever it is that she's feeling would be gone in that scenario. But it wouldn't be gone just because she's inside there enjoying. It would be gone because she wouldn't really have to have them anymore, because she wouldn't be just herself anymore. And it turns out that Carol has to kind of draw the line. She really needs to draw the line in there. She has to figure out, okay, what is it that I need to do? How do I choose here? And this really is an episode of like Carol's choice, Sophie's choice, however you want to see it, because something has to give. And it turns out that no matter how happy she wants to be, no matter how afraid she is of loneliness, there's only so much she can take of, not being herself, not having personality. It turns out she draws the line at individuality, even if it means that she has to be alone.
Yeah. And I think she's kind of had that line in the sand from the beginning. Again, even going back to the conversion therapy, there's like a deep aversion, disgust to being part of the hive. And we can see that she really, truly believed that she was safe. We can see that from that phone call, she felt like she was good. And I think that's part of the reason she felt safe pursuing the relationship with Zosha and
going on an endless honeymoon, traveling the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's fascinating about this episode too, is that I love it. I was like, the classical music, I was like, this is a romantic ass montage. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what's interesting about this episode is that when Manousos does pose the question, the girl or the world, she does choose the girl.
She's like, I'm going to try that. And then
She
it's
fully
interesting
goes
when she
into it.
comes back and she's like, oh, well, I tried that. That didn't work. I'm a little bit more miserable now, but hey, I guess we got to save the world.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying this as like she's a bad person or whatever, but I do think her motivation to save the world is definitely leaning more towards self-preservation than anything else. I mean, again, I do think she does fundamentally care about individuality, and I think she does care about humanity. Obviously, we'll get into that, but she sees the hive mind is still human and wants to save them because of that. But, she doesn't really go back to save the world and go to her mission until her own safety is in jeopardy. And that's kind of what pushes her there, which, again, I don't think she's a bad person. I think she just was experiencing real happiness for the first time and didn't want to let that go. And this just kind of shattered the illusion that she had.
It really did shatter.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to talk about Carolina's performance in this scene because she's been impressive the whole season, but this really blew me away. I think the way she realizes that she miscalculated when she says it only gets better. I think she truly believed.
I sold it too hard, like because she's been like the prime saleswoman for the joining this whole time, and then she's like, okay, maybe I need to dial it back just a little, but then she's like, oh, I think it might be too late. Oh, I think I may have messed up here. Like there's so much going on in her face, and it was just so nice because you can see all that juxtaposed with what's going on Carol's face, and Carol is just like, oh. And I remember watching that, literally thinking, like, the question that came to my head was, did they just break up? Is that what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Basically. Yeah, and you can see that the hive wants you to willingly join. Like, I don't think they want to force this upon her. So I think she just really felt that we got Carol to experience what happiness is, or what we think that happiness is. And so now she'll be at a place of better understanding when we try to bring her in. But obviously she miscalculated based on Carol's reaction. And yeah, I think just the micro expressions on her face as, Carol's asking her questions and she doesn't want to answer. She's doing everything in her power to not answer because they can't lie, but they can be evasive. And she's kind of struggling with keeping a happy face, but is getting quite serious because she's realizing they've probably lost her at this point. And yeah, it's such a fascinating scene. And she never really gives up anything about the eggs or the stem cells. Carol has to put that together herself. And then once she puts it together, then she is honest with her and says she's got like a month, maybe 2 or 3 left. And I mean, Carol is the look on her face. I think she's hurt. She's not really angry. She's hurt, betrayed. She's sad. I think she wishes that she just never heard this information. I think she just wishes she could go back to 20 minutes ago when it felt like everything was right in the world. But now I think, too, she feels like, oh, shit, I wasted my time. Like, I have been here with Zosha. And now the
Zosha
clock
has
is
been
ticking.
Working. Like I stopped my research, but she didn't stop hers.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, now I'm a little bit behind. So I have to resort to drastic measures. And that moment where she's like, if you loved me, you wouldn't do this. And this, and like, she's just like, we have to do this because we love you. It's,
and then
because
I
love you, like the appeal to emotion is just strong there. You really see that the hive is doing everything in its power via Zosha to convince Carol that this is the way, Mandalorian style. And then it just doesn't work. She learns she has just a month. And then that leads me to the question, would they administer the joining vapor without her consent? Because even though they have the eggs and they can make whatever it is that's required to make her join, can they just like force her to imbibe it? They can't, right?
I mean, I kind of think so. It sounds like it. Because they don't think her breathing in the vapor is harmful. So they only can't do what is harmful to her. I mean, if Carol keeps running forever and ever and they have to tackle her to the ground, then I don't think they can give it to her because that act would be a harmful act. But she can't physically run forever. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think...
stock up on her serotonin, dopamine, vasopressin, and oxytocin.
Yeah, I think, too, a lot of fans will have discussions on how, I think a lot of people want to see individuality poking out from Zosha. And, the actress has brought up all the different interpretations. So I think however you want to read it is definitely valid and something they want you to think about. But yeah, I definitely think people will latch on to the I love you and how much of that is real. And, I think there's discussions as to maybe it's real for the Hive because that's the Hive's definition of love. And they think love is real even if their love is the same for everybody. So maybe they even believe it, but it's different from Carol's definition of love, which, we can talk about. Carol really struggles in this episode to accept the fact that they love Manousos the same as her, a literal complete stranger. And she cannot...
That is something.
Grapple with that. Even though she kind of knows, like, it's on her whiteboard that they love everything equally, like they love all books equally, but I think she's just let herself get into this fantasy so much that she can't accept that they're treated all the same and Zosha's maybe not mine. She gets kind of possessive. She's like, you're my chaperone, mine. Like, she just doesn't want to share her.
Isn't it interesting as well that she's now using the word chaperone after telling Diabate all season? She's like, to stop calling her a chaperone. She says it with such pain. She's like, ugh, I have no other word for this. And in her mind, she's like, not Diabate being right. And also, not Lakshmi being Lakshmi once again. She's like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it this time. That's very funny because I think we're now at a point with Carol where we just have to admit that, knowledge is very different on paper than it is, when it's actually in your mind and your heart. Like it's something you kind of have to grapple with. And now we're here and it's like, okay, welcome to Carol's choice. What's she going to do? And this meeting with Manousos, I think, changes her just as much as that conversation with Zosha in the Alps. And it's equal parts fascinating and heartbreaking. But yeah, we're going to get into Manousos in a second. But I should probably first shout out that we have just released our super podcast on the film of the year, 2025. That is... it's a fun one, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It's on our feed everywhere you get your podcasts. MCU 12 has been announced. It's a fun project. We're going to be ranking MCU movies every month in 2026. So I guess get ready to find out what the top 12 are. But we're also going to be talking about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, industry. There's a lot that's coming up, and it's going to be a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you all so much for rocking with us this year. This whole time, it's been an amazing ride. From Severance up until this point, clearly Apple TV has kept us fed, but there have been other amazing things that we've talked about throughout the year. Definitely see if there's anything that suits your fancy. Let us know what you think. And get ready for an amazing 2026 because it's been a Merry Christmas, but it's also going to be a Happy New Year. So thank you all so much. And I guess now, thinking about Manousos, what was your first impression of him as, I guess, a person in the world as opposed to just a concept in this episode? Because here we see him communicate more than we've ever seen him communicate before, because so far he hasn't talked to anyone. In fact, he goes as far as talking to the others in this episode. He talks to the Hive, he talks to Carol, and we see his modes of interaction. We see how he feels about certain things. We see how his beliefs actually play out in practicality, because now there are words coming out of him. We're not just observing him, we're hearing him, and we're seeing how he essentially shows up in the world towards others. So it's almost like a real introduction to him, how he would talk to us, so to speak. So what did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, this man has forgotten how to interact with normal
Bruh.
people. I mean, there's a question as to how much he was always like this. I mean, obviously he's very rigid, so probably, though I'm sure his long period of isolation has not helped in that regard. But yeah, I mean, even just from the minute he comes to Carol's house, he doesn't walk up and just knock on the door like a normal person. He just beeps outside. Um, he doesn't want to talk in her house because he thinks it's bugged. 2 minutes into meeting her, like literally 2 or 3 minutes, he's grabbed her phone out of her hand. They're literally in a tussle, and he
That was
throws it
wild.
down the drain, which is just not how you would get someone on your side. So
Yeah, it's like, dude, did you forget that you came here to convince her? I thought you were supposed to be better at this convincing thing than her. Like, that
yeah,
is amazing.
he feels like it feels like in real life, like if you met a conspiracy theorist and you're like, dude, what the hell are you talking about, right? Because Carol knows how the hive operates more than him. She knows the extent to which they're monitoring her, but he's going like a little far because she knows at the end of the day, like, they're not vindictive, like they're not going to stop her from doing anything unless, again, she's like pulling something like the truth serum. But yeah, he's like very intense. I mean, he's like snapping at her in the episode, and then Carol does a little snap back and like her little finger wag. She's like, "No, you're not gonna talk to me this
Like,
way."
don't do that. Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot. Like, I remember thinking he's pretty confident for someone who doesn't know anything. It's like he's aware that she must know more than he does, hence his desire to meet up with her in the first place. But
Mhm.
he's not even deferring to that supposed superior knowledge, and I tried to decide if that's fear, arrogance, distrust, condescension, maybe even disrespect. Like, is he looking down on her because he's used to looking down on other people in that way? Is he used to looking down on women in that way? Is he used to looking down on people who have less knowledge than him about certain things, with all his like radio and scientific knowledge and all that stuff? Maybe he's like, okay, you haven't looked at this the way I have. I know you know more, but hear what I have to say. And I feel like he probably could have done a lot more listening, because throwing away her phone is crazy. Like, that was what?
Yeah, I mean, just getting into a physical altercation with someone after 3 minutes. Like, I mean, how do you expect them to act? And I think this is also a very interesting role reversal because I think Carol
Yes.
now in her mindset is a lot closer to Lakshmi,
Mm-hmm.
ironically, and how they felt about the hive back in episode 2. I think that's kind of now where Carol is at. And now Manousos is the one that's being too abrasive, and Carol's the one that tells him exactly what Lakshmi told her, which is maybe you should talk and listen to the hive. So I kind of love that journey of Carol's to like loop back to
10
the
out of 10.
people that she didn't
Perfection.
quite understand back in episode 2.
Oh my God, man. That was wild. It was actually crazy because she's the one who's like, ask some questions, learn something. But then I have to ask my own question, which is, couldn't she have been like just a little bit more empathetic towards him? Or maybe compassionate? I don't know. Like, I understand that he was being very abrasive, so she had to be abrasive too. But at the same time, she came into that with a lot of apprehension.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, she doesn't know his situation. She doesn't understand, what he's gone through to get here. And I guess she had to make her own assumptions the same way he's making assumptions. Like, he doesn't want to come in the house because he's like, what's in there? Like, is it bugged? And which, by the way, does that translate app function locally? Because that might be the best translate app I've ever seen in my life. Literally in my life. Like, I thought the internet died. How is that app working? Genuinely. Like, that's
I know.
insane.
Does this exist? Right? I was like, is it something where it
Just
just has?
flawlessly translating everything, hearing
Yeah,
them
I was
from a
like,
distance?
I'm like,
Like,
I love
what?
how unrealistic this is, but if someone can make an app that's that good, like, please let me know. We all need to travel with that for sure. I was like, maybe
Yeah,
it's pulling from like from a database
definitely.
that's already in the app, so it doesn't need the
Yeah,
internet,
exactly.
I
Which
guess.
is why I'm like, for it to have that much local data and still anyway, let me not get into that one right now. But I will say that as far as Manousos is concerned, and his belief systems anyway, you can see how he's being challenged and he has to kind of confront that idea of being challenged. She asks him, okay, well, is that your ambulance too? When he doesn't want to stay in Wilson's house, because like this meeting in general, it was rockier than I expected, but just not quite the way I expected. Like I was thinking maybe he'd show up and it'd be her and Zosha standing on one side and, him on the other. And then he'd be trying to get Carol over to his side. And then maybe there'd be some dialogue and then a little bit of chaos. But instead, they kind of just don't see eye to eye. Like, it's not even clear that they have the same goals anymore, which, we kind of predicted, right? But he's using words like destroy. And she's like, hold on.
Yes, yeah.
She's like, wait a second. I'm not destroying anyone. We're saving the world, maybe. But we can find another way to do this. These people are not evil. But it is interesting, right? Because we've talked about how he may be heavily religiously influenced, or maybe from his schooling, his upbringing, whatever the case may be. And he sees them not just as takers of what's not theirs, but as literally evil. He sees them as an evil force. Like, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, well, not only evil, but not human. So he is viewing them in a very Invasion of the Body Snatchers way of like, there is something else inside of them. Like, they are no longer human. And he says they're better off dead if we can't fix them, which is concerning because how long will you try to fix them before you go out
before you're like, you know what, let's just kill
everyone.
And then at the end, it's like, okay, what happens? Are you just going to be alone in the world? Are you going to kill yourself too? Like, there's too much.
Yeah. And I like how you brought up the religion again, because he does say they've stolen everyone's souls. And that definitely gives it a little bit more of a religious, spiritual bend rather than, just something like material, like something's overtaken their bodies. And that's going to be the main issue between them, is if you view them as human or not, because he doesn't view them as human, he willingly causes the worldwide seizure twice. So maybe he killed like 22 million people if we take the same number Carol killed the first time. And he's not guilty about it at all. He does not care how many people he killed. He said, it was worth it because I got some information. And
they're better off dead. It's just like, bro, this dude is like an absolutist.
Yeah.
He's an absolutist, and he's resorting to tools in his arsenal that he would never have used before. Like, he actually calls them for the first time. And then he asks specifically for Zosha. And I'm like, okay, why speak with Zosha? You can ask these questions to anyone now that you kind of understand them. But I guess he didn't understand them. He just thought he would learn more from Zosha. And then in talking to Zosha, he learned everything. And definitely by everything, that includes the relationship with Carol as well. So he knows a lot about Carol specifically now. Yes, he could have found out from everyone, but now he knows that, okay, everybody is involved here. Like, everybody is connected. He now actually understands the mechanism of this. Zosha is basically his Davis Taffler.
Yeah.
And, it's like now that Carol is confronted with someone she no longer trusts, again, for the first time in a while, she's securing her house. Like, she's literally trying to bar the door. I knew she'd be protective, but her not wanting Zosha to talk to him was not on my bingo card. Like, I didn't think she'd run in there like she was trying to, save her child from a bully almost. Like, he clearly understands a little bit more now, since he knows he can literally just get another person and continue the same conversation. But I started to wonder if he regretted coming to this place, but clearly not, because we've learned from the way this guy moves that every time he's presented with an obstacle, he will persevere. Like, he's like, I'm going to make the most out of this situation. I will not leave here empty-handed. It's like, I'm leaving here with something.
Yeah, and he's an ends justify the means kind of person. So he now is willing to talk to the Hive to get the information. And like we said, he doesn't feel guilty about causing the seizures. And I think in Carol's case, I think she's genuinely scared for Zosha, right? Because now that she has the conversation that he doesn't view them as human, she actually is in danger, and she kind of wasn't wrong, because if she hadn't come in and pulled Zosha away, he would have directly caused the seizure through her. Yeah. And I don't know if that makes a difference because ultimately they all experience a seizure anyways.
But Carol would not be able to handle that at all.
Yeah, but, you know, she was kind of right in a sense to be worried, and you know, he's carrying around his machete. That's how he presented himself to her. You know, obviously Zosha's comment is ringing in her head where she's like, well, I don't think he'd be dangerous to you. So she already planted that in her head that he would be dangerous to the hive. And like, again, bringing it back to episode 2, now Carol's going through the same thing of seeing someone she loves having to seize on the ground because of someone's actions. And in this case, that's Manousos. So she really is upset. And holy shit, she comes in with a literal gun and puts him in her trunk because of this.
Chekhov's gun. I love it. Like this Chekhov's everything. And I mentioned this a little bit on Peace livestream too. But like, there's literally Chekhov's everything in this episode. A literal Chekhov's gun. Like, I can't enjoy this enough. Like, this is amazing because it's like this gun has been there. She moved it from the police car to the Rolls Royce. And it's like, okay, there's a literal gun here. And obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, the law of Chekhov's gun is if you're writing a story and you say that there is a gun on the mantle, that gun has to go off at some point. If not, why introduce the gun at all? And they delivered on that because I didn't expect it to go down that way. I just didn't because, of course, she's going to use the gun. She comes in, literally guns blazing, while Manousos is like, I don't know what to call that, Saving Private Rick. Like, he's literally just trying to tell him to come back. He's coaxing him back. And I love how they showed us the significance of these radio waves. Like, there's definitely something to that. And we definitely, you know, we see Manousos sort of studying electricity later. So there is a lot to sink into there. But I have to say, I don't like that Carol escalated it that way. Like, I feel like there were a lot of people on the internet who were like, Manousos is going to come in with his machete. He's going to be violent. Different kinds of things, you know, and she's the one who comes in and shoots a painting off the wall. and I'm just like, shouldn't she be trying to explain what she knows instead? Like, I know it's not in her nature to be forthcoming. So the writing is doing its work. Like, they're not going to show Carol to be someone different now than who they've shown her to be for the past 8 episodes. But at the same time, even for Carol, this is excessive, no?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, very American of her to come in with a gun as your way to
you said it.
De-escalate.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that we see eye to eye.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Carol, you're feeding into the stereotype here, girl.
My God.
And you know, on one sense, it's like is just seeing him as very dangerous, but I think this also just has to do with Zosha. I think a lot of her behavior in this episode is escalated because of her. I think she might have chosen the same way either way to go with Zosha when push comes to shove, because they obviously do not see eye to eye on some fundamental things here, like the hive's humanity. But I think from the jump, she is a lot more annoyed than she would have been. I think she could have handled him better, but I think she's just so annoyed that she was living this beautiful, happy life with Zosha, and now this annoying man is in the way, spitting out these conspiracy theories, just annoying the hell out of her. She's like, get out of here. I'm going to drink again. She hasn't drunk in a while. I'm going to watch Golden Girls on my couch because I can't even deal with what you're presenting to me. I was jamming out when they played that for a little bit. But yeah, so I think everything's escalated because of that. And then just, again, I know possessiveness has a negative connotation, but yeah, I mean, definitely some possessiveness over Zosha and like not wanting to share her and not wanting her fantasy world to be shattered. I think he's reminding her. Yeah, no, I was like, okay, Carol, okay. Yeah, and just like reminding her that this isn't sustainable, and maybe she's even a little embarrassed, right? That she went from sending out these videotapes of like, I gotta save the world, and now she's like sleeping with the enemy.
The enemy,
you know?
quote unquote, yeah. Like she's very protective of her relationship. I mean, she's scared of not having privacy, and it's interesting because she's kind of dating the entire planet. But Zosha tells her, we didn't volunteer anything. Like, he asked very direct, specific questions, which, by the way, is something Carol is apparently not capable of, as we've seen throughout the show so far. And Carol doesn't really get that they all see the old schoolers, every single one of them, in the same way, right? Like, and it's something you really have to, even as a viewer of the show, wrap your head around. Like, Zosha is Ravi, is Kusimayu, is literally everyone, is Diabate's women. Like, they're all one person. So when she's talking to Zosha, she's also talking to Ravi in a sense. It's like they're not feeling everything, but they're aware. So it's almost like a knowledge bank. It's really, really, really reminiscent of punk records in one piece, but I literally do not have the tools to start explaining what that is like. But it's basically like having an internet. It's like they've become the internet of all things, the voice of all things, so to speak. And I think Manousos is a little bit shocked, and I think he's disappointed, but he doesn't become despondent because of that, right? And I remember after all the seizing and everything, they're like, okay, this guy is willing to make us seize, like, willingly. Like, at the very least, Carol did it accidentally.
Yeah.
Like, he shows up and he's like, he's inducing multiple seizures back to back. And they're like, okay, you know what we have to do. And then they left. And I'm just wondering what the conversation was like when she put him in the trunk. Did she probably pointed that gun at him and was like, get in the trunk.
Yeah, she like walked him out, I guess. I'm like,
literally just walked him out, back away now.
That reveal was crazy. I was like, oh my God, Carol.
I was dying because like, oh, where is he? He's fine. Like, that's so crazy. Because he can't even come out of there on his own, really. Without breaking the car. So that was
Love makes
wild.
You do crazy things, right?
Very crazy things. And, you know, when they were leaving, and at least when Zosha says, you know what we have to do, I'm like, okay. As someone who's been discussing this idea of Carol's loneliness for some time, I thought this would kind of break her because it didn't even seem like they were inviting her to come. Of course, we see later that they kind of did. She did go, but I was like, she's gonna be lonely again because of Manousos. This is going to make them enemies for sure. Like she said in episode 8 that, you know, I have to be willing to do what it takes, even if it means you leave me again. And she's at the point of tears when she's saying that. And now that's happening, and it's because of someone else. So while putting him in the trunk is crazy. It was kind of the only way because she didn't want him to be visible when they woke up. But then they left anyway. And that's when I started thinking, you know, what does she really want here? And how can he get what he wants? Because, you know, Zosha says for what it's worth, he warned us first. And I think he is that kind of guy. Like, he's like, okay, I need to try something. And because they're willing to give him whatever he needs, you know, that's just how it goes. But it shows that communication is really so vital because the language barrier, you know, the ideological differences, the differences in approach, that really affects how this goes. Because even though they are so aligned from like a top level view, down here, they are not aligned at all. And it's really threatening the vision. And that's when he obviously pops that pivotal question that defines the whole episode. And perhaps even the season in review when we think about it. Do you want to save the world or get the girl?
Yeah, and Carol wants the girl. I mean that's really how it went. Like I said, she really would not have chosen the world if she wasn't literally forced to. And I think that's interesting. I mean, it turns Carol like very much into our reluctant hero. Like I don't think she wants to.
She has become that.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about her last look to Zosha in the helicopter. She is like torn up and like Ray Seahorn, I mean, I've sung her praises all season, but like that look alone, like even just the still of it, you feel so much emanating from that look. But she doesn't want to say goodbye. I think she hates that it's like this, but it just has to be if she wants to
be this way. Yeah.
Save herself.
Yeah. And, you know, of course, it has to be that way because there's only so much that she can take and there's only so much convincing that can happen. Like, we go from seeing this montage of bliss, first is Thailand, then that high-rise apartment where they're in the tub together is at New York. Like, they're skiing, she's literally becoming Kumba-esque in her simulation of normalcy because she's going on quite an emotional and mental arc. I also love how the camera lingers long enough for us to see everything come to a stop whenever they leave a place, reminding us that all activity we see only exists because they are present and because they've willed it so, because Carol has willed it so. So she's kind of convinced herself that, yeah, she's living in paradise now, but it's almost like she's trying to forget that it is all simulated. Like it's very eerie when you actually think about what's happening. And of course, Manousos is quite the academic. He's studying electricity, seemingly. He's using his little like Spanish to English dictionary. Those used to come in clutch in my life in a different life. Let me put it that way. Maybe he's learned the significance of electromagnetic waves in the past 2 weeks, because he's studying these specific things. He's looking at the radio stuff. He's making the connections and he's telling her, like, there is a way to solve this. Like, you were right. And we don't even know exactly what he's found yet, but I'm really looking forward to finding out. And of course, his studying is interrupted by the sound of a helicopter. And now we're at a point where, like you said, Carol has to really reckon with the fact that this is who she is now. We had this idea this whole time of a potentially reluctant hero, as you mentioned. And I think it's possible that this season has really just been the intro. Like, this is sort of the intro arc to her becoming the person that is going to be the hero of this story alongside Manousos. They're going to be deuteragonists. I hope Bankole is not listening to this, but they're going to be deuteragonists moving forward into the second season. And it's like, okay, now the real story starts. Like, now everything has been said because Chekhov's atom bomb has landed.
Yeah. I love that, though. It's like her origin story of where she emotionally and mentally needs to be to actually save the world and be the hero. I have to say,
you saved the world.
I have to say, in this last scene, I love her like punk rock funeral fit. She was like, I have to wear all black to mourn the death of this relationship. She grabbed those skinny jeans out of the closet, muzzled up her hair.
The boots. Shout out to the costume designers.
Yes.
Because literally, Carol has mostly worn yellows and blues. Like, she wears yellow as kind of her, this is what she projects. But when she really needs to be calm, she wears blue, right?
Yes. And they mentioned that, yep.
And, I feel like even Zosha kind of started adhering to a similar palette. Like, we hardly see Carol wearing truly dark colors. But then, she comes in and she's wearing black hair and like, she's almost stone cold. And I say almost because you can see that very palpable sadness because this is so tragic to her, because she chose the girl, tried it, and realizes this is just not going to work because we're just never going to see eye to eye on this. And now she chooses to see eye to eye with Manousos instead. So it's like tracing her emotional arc, right, to get a sense of, the new baseline of her personality, like who she now is interesting, right? Because she is now a changed person. She's this person who was hiding her true self at the beginning. Then she has to figure things out. She's very like apprehensive. She's abrasive. She has to learn how to become a bit more personable to people she doesn't like. In the process, she falls in love with somebody who she would never fall in love with normally. She learns a lot about the world, then learns a lot about herself. Then she meets Manousos, who actually challenges her in a way no one else in the world actually can anymore. And then she decides to defy that in order to finally defeat loneliness, and realizes that she's going to have to embrace loneliness, but in a new way with the other loner so that they can be united. And now like she has a purpose, like she has a sense of will, she has a goal. And dare I say it, they might succeed. These two together, actually, even if they're reluctant, actually working together, that's going to be an amazing season 2, which we already know is in the works because Apple ordered 2 seasons of the show right out the gate. So
yeah. And it's interesting too because I think season 1 was a lot of Carol and Zosha's yin and yang, and they almost had a comedic sort of, back and forth because, the nicer Zosha was, especially towards the beginning, the more frustrated Carol would get. And it kind of had this comedic effect. And I think they've almost set up not a similar dynamic, but also that kind of comedic potential of Manousos and Carol that I think will be more of the central duo for season 2. I'm not sure exactly how they will weave in Zosha now. That's my big question going into season 2 is, I love Carolina's performance. I think we've all fallen in love with Zosha just like Carol has. So I think the question is how she's going to be weaved in, right? Like how much is the Hive going to ignore them as Carol and Manousos are working together? I mean, do they try to weave Carol back in somehow, or do they know that she is like fully gone? I mean, yeah, I'm curious just how they'll kind of keep her present in the show and how she is involved in season 2. Because like I say, I do think Carol and Manousos will be kind of like the new duo that is focused on probably.
Yeah, man. I mean, like even it's just clear that there's going to be such a tug of war, and the Hive, we don't know them to be anything even resembling antagonistic. Truly, like narratively, yes, they are antagonistic, but they are not confrontational. They're not violent. They don't want to hurt anybody. They just want to spread. So I'm wondering what it will be like with Carol actually seeing them as a true enemy again, with somebody who fully believes that they are evil. So yeah, the fact that it's war is I guess it's going to be fun. And I actually like the Conquistadora played at the end because that was very fitting. Lots of perspectives in this episode, even in the writing, because you can see humor coming in, even though this was a very tense episode. Like I love how they showed things visually. Like Manousos goes to the car, he goes to the ambulance, and then he actually has to physically take the machete and throw it aside to get his radio wave because he's trying to save the world. Like he's fully doing it. But then Carol goes and picks up her gun. Like despite being afraid or I guess cautious of him, she is the one who's bringing the danger. She's Walter White. So I think she is the danger. I am the danger. She is the one who knocks. But yeah.
Or he's the one that doesn't knock. He beeps.
Literally, he beeps. Like, so, I mean, which also him crawling when he heard the helicopter, like they can't see him from the sky.
He's like, he funny. Can't let go of his paranoia, right?
It's like, dude, you can walk. It's okay. Yeah, I'm so impressed. Like this show really did deliver.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone who kind of stuck with it, like, has been rewarded in a sense. It's like this show had a bit of a slow burn. Like, first of all, we have to reestablish maybe the best double episode premiere we've ever seen. I think that's universally accepted. Like people who don't even normally watch shows like this, they're like, yo, the first 2 episodes of this show, that was crazy because it's such a unique concept. Then that unique concept normalizes itself. And in that normalcy, we find rhythm. And in that rhythm comes a narrative that is really taking its time to respect its audience and show that, okay, like if we carry you along and you actually come with us, it's going to work out. And it does work out in a lot of ways because we learn so much. We see things literally paying off all over the place, like I said earlier. And now we've truly set up for the next season. Like, who knows? Maybe it's all already written.
Yeah. And I do want to say, like, those first 2 episodes were written by Vince Gilligan. So, which the other, excellent writers on every other episode, but like he definitely knew how to start this off with a bang and set up a great narrative, like you said.
I think they were directed by him too. Which is fun because like the vision truly was established. This episode actually is the first to be written by 2 people or to have 2 names credited for writing, and that's Gordon Smith, who also directed the episode, and Alison Tatlock, and they are part of the main production team for this show, and they've worked with Vince a long time. And everybody who is involved in this is really thoughtful. And the perspectives here are just impressive because the attention to detail can only yield amazing results. Like they've really invested here and it shows.
Yeah. Wait, I have a couple other things that I think we didn't quite touch on, which was when Manousos does yell at everyone and they start seizing, we hear
Hmm.
the radio signal go
Yeah.
wonky, which is
Yes.
important to know. And that's why he, tells Carol that he thinks that he's figured something out. And
Yep.
something he does there is he tries to coax the real person out of the
To come
guy
out,
he's
it's like,
making
okay, now I'm
seize.
getting you.
And
It's like a
it
seance.
doesn't it doesn't work. I think you could argue, would it have worked if Carol didn't interrupt? I'm not sure it would have, but
Hmm.
I have this idea of like maybe if they'd talked about things that were personal to the person,
Mm.
maybe that could have worked. I have no idea, but and that'll be the friction between Carol and Manousos next season is like, what if they could do that to Zosha and tell the mango ice cream story or something, because
Yeah.
that is actually something personal to her. But that's a line that Carol wouldn't want to cross because she does not want to cause seizures. So anyway, just like a thought I had if we're talking theories. And then one other detail, which because you just talked about their attention to detail, and
Yeah.
I looked up the book that Carol is reading at the pool with her and Zosha, and
The
it's
Left Eye of
called
Darkness.
Yes, and I've never read it, although I'm kind of interested in it now that I'm reading the
Yeah.
plot. But
I kind of want to find it now.
yeah, it's about a person like sent to another planet to convince them to join their Federation of Planets. And the
Oh, wow.
individuals on this new planet are ambisexual, which affects
Mm.
their culture. And I found that interesting because Zosha's almost like both characters, because Zosha is the one trying to convince Carol to join the Hive, but she is also fluid in her sexuality,
Yeah.
or right, because she's kind of everyone. So, she's also like this individual from this like ambisexual planet. And I don't know, I want to read more into it in case there's like other clues or something, but I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so, yeah, everything is so detailed and that's very interesting. I wonder if there's anything else they've taken from that book at all. Especially since they've openly said there's a lot of like 60s and like 70s like sci-fi movie influences, and this was also a book that was written in the 60s, I believe. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely worth looking into. I think all these little Easter eggs are going to have some sort of significance or the other because the show does pay off. It's little things that it plants. So
Yeah, I
yeah, it's an
know.
amazing season. I don't even know. I can't praise it enough. I think it had the right amount of intrigue. It had the right amount of action for what it was trying to do. One could argue that the pacing became a bit questionable in the middle of the season, but I think that it did actually work out. I mean, the midpoint, the middle episode, episode 5, is the one where, well, the Thanksgiving episode, right? The one where she finds out that they eat people, right at the end. And that was like a cool cliffhanger to kind of end the first half of the season on. And ever since then, it's her reckoning with the fact that, life is what it is now. And she kind of has to reckon with it. She has to understand it. She has to figure out what exactly needs to happen. And, she has to figure out, I suppose, how you got her sweater.
Yes, everyone, this is $19 on Amazon. My friend found the link and I ordered it. I was like, oh my God, I can wear it for our last
You are
podcast episode.
literally
It's very comfy.
wearing.
Um,
Wow.
Zosha
I mean, it's
sweater.
nice. We were always going to wear sweaters this episode, I guess, but wow, like.
I also have no
the choice here is
color.
amazing.
I have like no color in my closet. So I was like, for some reason, all I bought is like beiges, whites, and blacks for like the last few years. So I
You're
was like,
classy.
you know what?
You have neutrals.
Yeah, I know, but
call
we
it
need
old
some
money.
color. I like Carol's like primary colors here. Well, I guess green isn't, but yeah. So Carol is not spending her book sales on clothing. She is not vain in that sense. She's fine with Amazon clothes. Zosha has more expensive tastes. Her sweater was from Anthropology, so a little more high class, a little more expensive
chic.
for the
Yeah.
Hive.
I know, right? So what is money anymore? Don't
doesn't
tell
matter.
Manousos though.
I know, she's just going to like the Albuquerque Mall every day and is like, I gotta
Just
find
taking whatever she wants.
yeah, I gotta find the next best outfit to reel Carol in. Like, what is she gonna like?
Yeah.
But But yeah,
honestly.
no, this was an excellent season, like you said. I think what I love most about Vince Gilligan's shows is the character work he does. I think sometimes people watch shows and they want characters to act 100% consistently all the time. Like, why isn't Carol asking all of these questions right from the start? Or like, why is Carol moving against her own belief systems? But, that's how real people act. I think everyone has some cognitive dissonance they're fighting in their heads. Everyone's been a hypocrite at one time or another. And that's why his characters feel really real, because real people are not consistent. And I think Carol, as you talked about, has had a lot of ups and downs in this season, has struggled with her own feelings, sort of acting more on her impulse and subconscious, even if she consciously knows something is wrong or something she doesn't want to do. But just the most excellent character work across like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and now Pluribus. So, what a great show.
Yeah. Well, we'll be here for season 2. Can't wait for that to come back, though. We will have to wait because that's just not how time works. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for listening up until this point. This has been an amazing ride. Definitely stick around for what we cover next because it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. Thank you once again to Cris. Huge round of applause to you for everything that you've done this season. I feel like every other episode, I'm just like, hold on. What's going on in my head? This episode has things, and I guess the season had things that you were able to like really bring out due to your unique perspective. So it was definitely fun covering the show with you. I feel like now we have no choice but to sit patiently for the next season. Think about what Carol and Manousos are going to be cooking up because they're definitely cooking up something, if not literally, how to use an atomic bomb. Like, I don't even know what her plan is with that defense, a deterrent. Is she gonna, like, when she needs to move it again, is she gonna call for another helicopter from the enemy? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Just a constant threat that she has.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess for now, everybody stay safe, stay indoors, and, enjoy the ski lounge.
Thank you, everyone. It's been fun.